April 24th, 2 Kings 9, 10, and 11. 2 Kings 9. And Elisha the prophet called one of the sons of the prophets and said to him, Gird your loins and take this flask of oil in your hand and go to Ramoth Gilead. And you shall go there and look for Jehu son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, and go in and make him rise up from among his brothers, and take him to an inner room, and take the flask of oil and pour it on his head, and say, Thus said Yah, I have anointed you sovereign over Israel. Then you shall open the door and flee, and do not wait. So the young man, the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead, and came in and saw the commanders of the army sitting. And he said, I have a message for you, O commander. And Jehu said, For which one of us? And he said, For you, commander. And he rose up and went into the house, and he poured the oil on his head, and said to him, Thus said Yah, Elohim of Israel, I have anointed you sovereign over the people of Yah, over Israel. And you shall strike the house of Ahab your master, and shall avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yah, at the hand of Jezebel. And all the house of Ahab shall perish, and I shall cut off from Ahab all the males in Israel, both those shut up and those left at large. And I shall give the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, son of Aiah. And the dogs are going to eat Jezebel in the portion of Israel, with none to bury her. Then he opened the door and fled. And Jehu came out to the servants of his master, and one said to him, Is there peace? Why did this madman come to you? And he said to them, You know the man and his talk. And they said, A lie. Reveal it to us now. So he said, Thus and thus he spoke to me, saying, Thus said Yah, I have anointed you sovereign over Israel. And they hurried, and each one took his garment and put it under him on the top of the steps. And they blew with a shofar, saying, Jehu reigns. Thus Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had been guarding Ramoth. So I looked it up while recording. I paused. It's pronounced Gilead. Now Joram had been guarding Ramoth Gilead, he and all Israel, against Hazazel, sovereign of Aram. But sovereign Jehoram had returned to Israel to recover from the wounds which the Arameans had stricken him when he fought with Azazel, the sovereign of Aram. Now Jehu now said, If this is your desire, let no one leave or escape from the city to go and make it known in Israel. And Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Israel, Yisrael, and for Joram was laid up there. And Ahaziah, sovereign of Judah, had come down to see Joram. And a watchman stood on the tower in Yisrael, and he saw the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company of men. And Jehoram said, Get a horseman and send him to meet them, and let him say, Is there peace? And the horseman went to meet him and said, Thus says the sovereign, Is there peace? And Jehu said, What have you to do with peace? Turn around and follow me. And the watchman spoke, saying, The messenger went to them, but is not coming back. Then he sent out a second horseman, who came to them, and said, Thus said the sovereign, Is there peace? And Jehu answered, What have you to do with peace? Turn around and follow me. And the watchman spoke, saying, He went with them, and is not coming back. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu, son of Nimshi, for he drives madly. Then Jehoram said, Hitch up. And he and his chariot was hitched up. And Jehoram, sovereign of Israel, and Ahaziah, sovereign of Judah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out to meet Jehu, and meet him on the portion of Naboth the Yisraelite. And it came to be, when Jehoram saw Jehu, that he said, "Is there peace, Jehu?" But he answered, "What peace? As long as the whoring of your mother Isabel and her witchcraft are many." Thereupon Jehoram turned his hands around and fled, and said to Ahaziah, "Treachery, O Ahaziah." And Jehu drew his bow and struck Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow came out at his heart, and he sank down in his chariot. And Jehu said to Bidgar, his officer, "Take him up and throw him into the portion of the field of Naboth the Yisraelite. Remember how you and I were riding together behind Ahab his father, and Yah lifted up this pronouncement against him. I have not seen the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons last night. Thus declares Yah, I shall repay you in this portion, declares Yah. And now, take up, throw him on the portion, according to the word of Yah." And Ahaziah, sovereign of Judah, saw this, and fled up by the way to Beth Hagan. And Jehu pursued him, and said, "Strike him too, in the chariot, at the ascent to Gur, which is by Yiblaam." And he fled to Megiddo, and died there. Then his servants conveyed him in the chariot to Jerusalem, and buried him in his burial place with his fathers in the city of David. In the 11th year of Joram, son of Ahab, Ahaziah began to reign over Judah. And Jehu came to Israel, and Isabel heard of it. And she put paint on her eyes, and adorned her head, and looked through a window. And as Jehu came to the gate, she said, "Is it peace, Zimri, killer of your master?" And he lifted up his face to the window, and said, "Who is with me? Who?" And 3 eunuchs looked down to him. And he said, "Throw her down." And they threw her down, and some of her blood spattered on the wall and on the horses. And he trampled her underfoot. And he went in, and ate and drank, and said, "Go now, see to this cursed one, and bury her, for she was a sovereign's daughter." So they went to bury her, but all they found of her was the skull and her feet, and the palms of her hands. And they came back and informed him, and he said, "This is the word of Yah, which he spoke by his servant Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Yisrael, dogs are going to eat the flesh of Isabel. And the corpse of Isabel shall be as dung on the surface of the field, in the portion of Israel, so that they do not say, This is Isabel." 2 Kings 10. And Ahab had 70 sons in Shamaron. And Jehu wrote letters and sent to Shamaron, to the rulers of Israel, to the elders, and to the guardians of Ahab, saying, "And now, when this letter comes to you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, and a walled city, and weapons, choose the best and most upright of your master's son, and set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house." And they were greatly afraid, and said, "Look, 2 sovereigns have not stood before him. How do we stand? We. And he who was over the house, and he who was over the city, the elders also, and the guardians, sent to Jehu, saying, We are your servants, and all that you say to us we do. We do not set up anyone to reign. Do what is good in your eyes." And he wrote a second letter to them, saying, "If you are for me, and if you obey my voice, take the heads of the men, your master's sons, and come to me at Israel by this time tomorrow." Now the sovereign's sons, 70 beings, were with the great men of the city, who brought them up. And it came to be, when the letter came to them, that they took the sovereign's sons, and slew them, 70 men, and put their heads in baskets, and sent them to him at Israel. Then the master came and informed him, saying, They have brought the heads of the sovereign's sons. And he said, Make them 2 heaps at the entrance of the gate until morning. And it came to be in the morning that he went out and stood and said to all the people, You are righteous. Look, I have conspired against my master and killed him. But who struck all these? Know now that not one word of Yah which Yah spoke concerning the house of Ahab does fall to the ground. For Yah has done what he has spoke by his servant Eliyahu. And Jehu struck all those left of the house of Ahab in Yisrael, and all his great men, and his friends, and his priests, until he left him without a survivor. And he rose up to go, and went to Shomeron. On the way at Beth Ikad of the shepherds, Jehu met with the brothers of Ahaziah, sovereign of Judah, and said, Who are you? And they answered, We are the brothers of Ahaziah, and we have come down to greet the sons of the sovereign and the sons of the sovereigness mother. And he said, Take them alive. So they took them alive and slew them at the well of Beth Ikad, 42 men, and left none of them. And he left none of them. And he left there and met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, coming to meet him, and blessed him, and said to him, Is your heart right, as my heart is toward your heart? And Jehonadab answered, It is. Jehu said, If it is, give me your hand. And he gave him his hand, and he took him up into the chariot. And he said, Come with me, and see my order for Yah. And they made him ride in his chariot. And he came to Shomeron, and struck all those left of Ahab in Shomeron, till he had destroyed them, according to the word of Yah which he had spoke to Eliyahu. And Jehu gathered all the people, and said to them, Ahab served Baal a little. Jehu serves him much. And now, call to me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants, and all his priests. Let no one be missing, for I have a great slaughtering to make to Baal. Anyone who is lacking shall not live. But Jehu did this deceptively in order to destroy the servants of Baal. And Jehu said, Set apart an assembly for Baal. So they proclaimed it. And Jehu sent throughout all Israel, and all the servants of Baal came, so that there was not a man left who did not come. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was filled from end to end. And he said to him who was over the wardrobe, Bring out garments for all the servants of Baal. And he brought out garments for them. And Jehu and Jehonadab, son of Rechab, went into the house of Baal, and said to the servants of Baal, Search and see that no servants of Yah are here with you, but only the servants of Baal. So they went in to make slaughterings and ascending offerings. Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men on the outside, and had said, The man who lets escape any of the men whom I have brought into your hands, his life for his life. And it came to be, when he had finished making the ascending offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the officers, Go in, strike them, let no one come out. And they struck them with the edge of the sword, and the guards and the officers threw them out, and went into the inner room of the house of Baal, and brought out the pillars of the house of Baal, and burned them, and broke down the statue of Baal, and broke down the house of Baal, and made it a latrine to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. However, Jehu did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin, from the golden calves that were at Bethel and Dan. And Yah said to Jehu, Because you have done well by doing what is right in my eyes, and have done to the house of Ahab all that was in my heart, your sons are going to sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. But Jehu did not guard to walk in the Torah of Yah Elohim of Israel with all his heart, for he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, who had made Israel sin. In those days Yah began to cut off some in Israel, and Hazazel struck them throughout all the border of Israel, from the Jordan to the sun rising, all the land of Gilead, the Giladites, and the Reubenites, and the Manasshites, from Aroer, which is by the Wadi Arnon, including Gilead and Bashan. And the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Israel? So Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Shamaron. And Jehoahaz his son reigned in his place. And the days that Jehu reigned over Israel in Shamaron were 28 years. 2 Kings 11. And Athaliah, sure. Sorry. And Athaliah was the mother of Ahazyahu. And when she saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the offspring of the reign. But Yehosheba, the daughter of the sovereign of Joram, sister of Ahazyahu, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the sons of the sovereign's sons, who were put to death. So they hid him and his nurse in the bedroom from Athaliah, and he was not put to death. And he remained with her in hiding in the house of Yah for 6 years, while Athaliah was reigning over the land. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada and brought the commanders of hundreds with the Kerites and the runners, and brought them into the house of Yah with him. And he made a covenant with them, and took an oath from them in the house of Yah, and showed them the son of the sovereign. And he commanded them, saying, This is what you are to do. 1/3 of you who come in on the Sabbath to be on guard in the sovereign's house, and 1/3 at the gate of Sur, and 1/3 at the gate behind the runners. And you shall be on guard in the house, lest it be broken down. And the 2 detachments of you who are going out on the Sabbath shall be on guard in the house of Yah for the sovereign. And you shall surround the sovereign on all sides, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whoever comes within the ranks, let him be put to death, and be with the sovereign as he goes out and as he comes in. So the commanders of the hundreds did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And each of them took his men who were going in on the Sabbath, with those who were going out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And the priest gave the commanders of the hundreds the spears and shields which had belonged to sovereign David, that were in the house of Yah. And the runners stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, all around the sovereign, from the right side of the house to the left side of the house, by the slaughter place and the house. And he brought out the son of the sovereign, and put him on the diadem and the witness. And they set him up to reign, and anointed him, and they clapped their hands, and said, Let the sovereign live. And Athaliah heard the noise of the runners, the people, and she came to the people into the house of Yah, and looked and saw the sovereign standing by a column, according to the ruling. And the chiefs and the trumpeters were beside the sovereign, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. And Athaliah tore her garments and cried out, Treason! Treason! And Jehoiada the priest commanded the commanders of the hundreds, the officers of the army, and said to them, Take her outside by the ranks, and slay with the sword whoever follows her. For the priest had said, do not let her be killed in the house of Yah. So they took hold of her, and she went by way of the horses' entrance to the sovereign's house, and was put to death there. And Yehoiada made a covenant between Yah and the sovereign and the people, to be the people of Yah, also between the sovereign and the people. And all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and broke it down, and they completely broke up its slaughter places and images, and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, before the slaughter places. And the priest appointed inspectors over the house of Yah, and took the commanders of hundreds, and the Karatites, and the runners, and all the people of the land. And they brought the sovereign down from the house of Yah, and went by the way of the gate of the runners to the sovereign's house. And he sat on the throne of the sovereigns. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city had rest, for they had slain Athaliah with the sword in the sovereign's house. And Jehoash was 7 years old when he began to reign.